We are live on YouTube. This is Male Entrepreneur Podcast, episode number 6. Oh no, this is the Complete Man Podcast, episode number 6. And we're live in 3, 2. Welcome back to the Complete Man Podcast with your host, the Complete Man himself, Purdeep Sangha. How are you doing, man?
Good, man. Being the complete man is always a work in progress. So I'm doing well. Constantly trying to work on it.
All right. Okay, so last week we talked about, for a moment, we had a big hiccup in the recording schedule, and you had some craziness going on in your life, and I'm glad, after knowing everything that happened, that you're back on the mic with me. But this week you said you wanted to talk about what to do when the universe throws everything at you, and I'm wondering, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah, we just had so much going on. It was just, excuse me, a crazy few weeks. First of all, my family ended up getting COVID, and it was absolutely the worst time ever. Now, there's no ideal time to get COVID, but this was the worst one. And we've been talking, and I don't want to get into the whole conversation about COVID, but I just saw my family. Like my wife was out for 6 days, like boom, bedridden, couldn't get up, couldn't. But if she got up, she had to lay back down. My daughter had challenges breathing at night, and I was always under the impression that kids were less impacted, but I was like, crap, like I was fearful of her not being able to breathe at night, like just stop breathing. So we had some interesting moments with the family. We all got through it. We're all good now. I would say my wife is 90%, I think, recovered. My daughter seems like she's fully 100% recovered. My son was okay. I was okay too. I just had flu symptoms for a few days and wasn't feeling good. Still got this. The nasty thing about this thing it's like a burning in the chest. That's the most annoying thing. But we've gone. We're good with that. What ended up happening was we had a also filming this TV show, and it was right in the smack when we got COVID. So if you're listening to this, actually, I haven't talked about this, but it's a new TV show. Nathan, I don't know if I've mentioned it to you, but it's called Mind Your Own Business. It's coming out on in July and August, and it'll be on a Canadian TV channel, but it'll also be Amazon Prime eventually as well. But I'm a co-host there, and I'm basically the whole show is about we bring on these entrepreneurs and we mentor them. We have a team of mentors and we help them grow their business. They have a challenge and we help them go through it. So it's cool because in Canada we only have one or two business shows. So this is literally going to be the third business show um, in Canada, which is I'm super excited about. I'm so glad I got the opportunity here. But more importantly, these entrepreneurs have some kind of disability.
Mm.
Like we have a few people who are blind. One gentleman has cerebral palsy in a wheelchair. Another gentleman fell in the bathtub, smacked his head. As a result, he's paralyzed. Like these are entrepreneurs that have so much inspiration and will in them that I'm so thankful I got to know them. That not only am I grateful for life, but it's given me a whole different appreciation. Sorry, I apologize because that was kind of on a tangent, and I do want to talk about that in another episode. But what ended up happening, we were supposed to film the second part of that, and that fell smack dab in the middle of COVID, like when our family got it. So we were like, what the hell do we do now? Right? Because production schedule, you can't just say, sorry guys, I got COVID, and you guys have to shift everything around. Um, so that posed a challenge, but here's what also ended up happening, Nathan. I was invited as a group of 25 people that they selected, the Indian, you can say, Prime Minister's office, through their network was selected to meet with the Prime Minister in the world. So I got received this invitation to meet with the Prime Minister of India, again, smack dab, right in the middle of COVID. And here I was. Here's what ended up happening. I found out it was kind of last minute notice too. When I'd received it, I literally had less than 10 days to plan this whole thing, go to India. But that was literally when I found out a few days before we found out we had COVID. We were feeling sick, but I was testing constantly, but it was showing negative. And then I'd booked my tickets, ready to go,
Mm.
right? Found out I had COVID. So I'm like, oh, shh. Like, what do I do now? Cancel my tickets. Then something inside of me said, hey, look, we've had symptoms for a week. We're technically only supposed to be isolated for a week. I think I can still go. Rebook my tickets.
Hmm.
But then I had to get my visa. And so the visa was an issue at that particular time because it was like the last day that I could get my visa and go into the visa office, but I was still technically not allowed to leave the house. So I was like, oh crap, like, what do I do here now? And then I had to cancel my flights again. And then the visa office called and they said, please come in this day because we have basically, they expedited it because it was from the prime minister himself. So I had a special, you could say it's a special grant. And then what ended up happening was everything was planned. 4 hours before my flight, I get this notice saying, okay, as a precaution, we were supposed to meet the prime minister at his house, like literally having lunch with him at his house. Not only with the prime minister, but some of the most successful and prominent Indian families in the country from India. So I was like, this is a massive business opportunity. Like wasn't just a everyday opportunity. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity, right?
Mhm.
And I also got to represent my faith, which is the Sikh faith, because he was particularly interested in meeting Sikh individuals. And so this was kind of like a dual opportunity for me. 4 hours before my flight, I get this notice to say, uh, you need to get a PCR test before you go into the prime minister's house, and it's going to be done on this day because they have their own labs. And I was like, oh shoot, like, what do I do now? Let me just see if I'm still testing positive. Did a rapid test, still testing positive. Talked to my wife, and she said, chances are you're still going to test positive when you get there. Had to cancel my flight. Man, it was the biggest roller coaster that we've had in the last few years. Not only my wife being sick, because I was like, I had to wait till my wife could actually get out of bed, right? Because it's not like I could ask anybody to come over. A, because we don't have that much family around. B, my mother-in-law is 70 something years old. I can't ask her to come into a COVID environment. So we had all of these variables. So that's why we're talking about this topic here today is, sometimes we think that the universe is working against us. And I literally, Nathan, was turning every rock I could to get to India, to get my family healthy, to get this production schedule rescheduled. And two out of the three things worked out okay. Family got healthy, was able to restructure or retime the production, but didn't get to go to India.
Man.
And
Okay.
and sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, no, go ahead, Matt.
Okay. Uh, a lot of us listening right now, we probably can relate, maybe not on such a grand scale, but being a business owner, being a family man, sometimes life just throws everything at you. And it seems like if you stumble, like you're going along and then you trip on something and then you fall and then you tumble and then you roll and then you start falling downhill. And it seems like sometimes, especially in this story, it seems like this is definitely what happened to you is it comes all at once. And it's not like, oh, I just had a little speed bump and I got over it and now life is back on track. It's like I had a speed bump and then my car broke down and then a hailstorm hit and like, so I guess, yeah, man, we can probably all relate. Everybody listening could probably relate to that. And when it rains, it pours, man. And first of all, how do you not let that spiral into something that just turns into a mess? I mean, that can mess with your head. It can start messing with, is the universe attacking me? Am I on the wrong path? Am I even worthy? How am I going to dig myself out of the hole when the hole just seems to be getting deeper? It can mess with you.
Hmm. Yeah, and it definitely did. And I think that's the whole thing behind this episode is what I learned was that, I'm pretty persistent. I'm pretty committed to my results and I try to do things, but I had literally, I went on this mission to figure out what I could do. And I came out of it not being able to go, for example, but I still felt good about myself. Like I walked out and said I did literally every single thing I could, right? And it still didn't work out, but that's okay. At least I did every single thing I could. Had I not done every single thing, I think I would have regretted it for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
I think that is the whole purpose of this episode, because I can walk out. And don't get me wrong, there was a period of time, when I canceled my flight, that I felt like someone punched me in the gut and face and kicked me in the nuts, because I was like, this once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't think I'll ever get it again. You never know. But this opportunity is just this, like, a few inches from the grasp of my hands, and I couldn't do it. But then I thought, I said, you know what? I did everything I could. I did everything I could. And then I also learned from it as well, because I went back and I said, what could I have done differently? Where could I have maybe tried to expedite things? What did I learn as a result? I learned that the airlines have some interesting cancellation policies, because I had to cancel 3 sets of flights. Um, and I actually got my money back for all of them, interestingly enough. But it was a really interesting experience, because I pushed myself past my limit, and I was sick during that time too, right? Like, it's not like I was out of it, but I was just not feeling prime. And so if I was feeling prime, maybe I could have done something different. I don't know, but I still persevered. And I think this is a lesson for everybody else, is just continue to do every single thing you can until the very last moment, so you don't have any regrets. Because I see men that have regrets, and they hold those regrets for the rest of their lives. I think that can be the bigger challenge.
Yeah. So my question to you, and it seems like it has a lot to do with mindset, but when, and this goes back to what I was asking earlier, when you find yourself in those deep holes, and a lot of times bad stuff happens, and then we start thinking about other bad stuff, and then we start thinking about things that happened when we were 15 years old and we still haven't let go of, and we're still bitter about. And how do you, what are your thoughts on, I guess, not letting it spiral out of control and regaining, especially in your situation where you're dealing with an illness, you're not at 100%, and then you just got, like you said, you felt like you got punched in the gut and kicked in the nuts. Like, that's a hard thing to get back up from sometimes. And sometimes your mind can start working against you. How do you get control back over your mind to start making it work for you again?
Yeah, the first thing is, so let's take a look about how that works. You have to be able to get right back on the bowl. And the first thing is, you can't wallow in the pity. I know it's easy to do. It's easy to sit there and feel those emotions, right? But you have to be able to stop those emotions, and you have to get your body moving as well. This is another important aspect. You have to be able to physically change your your emotional patterns. So you have to be able to go for walks, work out, be physically active, because that actually shifts your thought pattern. Right. So whenever I tell people, and there's a correlation, typically when people are not feeling good, they're typically not working out, or they're not staying physically active, or their body posture um, is not ideal for their emotional state. So I had to get myself back into the physical routine. I had to work out, and I had to, like, go for walks. I had to stay active, because that just kept me from sitting there and wallowing in my own pity. And that's the first thing. The second thing, and this is so important, right? This is a core concept of the complete man. It is, you always have to ask yourself, how are you getting stronger as a result of this? And what are you learning?
Mhm.
What are you learning, and how are you getting stronger? Because this is, again, when you look at what you have or don't have in your external world and circumstances, you are at the mercy of your environment. But when you take control and you say, how am I changing? How am I evolving? You are taking control of your life. And I refuse, and this is what everybody has to do, every man has to do, is refuse to be a product of your environment. You have to create who you are. And that means you constantly have to look inside, Nathan, right? And it really is, because I could have looked at outside at all the things that I missed. And trust me, there's there were billionaires going there that I there could have been some really good business opportunities, right? And I every time I thought about that, I was like, man, I'm missing out, right? Yeah, man, I'm missing out. Man, I wish I would have. But I had to look from within and say, what am I learning as a result of this process? Am I learning how to manage my emotions more effectively? So rather than outward focus, you have to go inward focus. And I
Okay.
know that sounds cliche, but that is the most important thing.
So I know personally, and I just want to get your take on this. I know personally in my business, sometimes it feels like I'm running around putting fires out. And both in life and in business, especially if you're somebody who's driven, sometimes it just starts to feel like stuff piles up. Sometimes it feels like I'm walking into a house and there's a pile of dirty dishes and a bunch of mail that needs to be sorted and laundry needs to get done and I need to vacuum and everything's being thrown at me at once. And to be honest, sometimes I feel like just throwing my hands up and saying, you know what, I'm just going to binge watch Netflix for the rest of the night.
Mhm.
But I don't want to do that. So as we're out of here, if a guy's feeling like there's just too much, the universe is throwing everything at me. Uh, what's the best thing to do in that moment?
Mhm. And this is something that I had to do throughout that period of these last few weeks, and I think that's what's gotten me through. A, you have to prioritize, right? And a lot of times we think that we have to take everything on, and we can't. It's impossible for us to take everything on. The best, most successful men out there are the ones that know how to prioritize. They know where to put their time and energy. They could do everything, they could try to do everything, but they know they can't. So that's the first thing. Make a list and prioritize. And the next thing, it's so simple to say, very tough to do, but has the biggest impact not only on your productivity, your mental attitude, your fulfillment in life, and basic quality of life. Here's what it is. Take one thing at a time. One thing at a time. If we continue to try to do three things at once or think about three things at once, it doesn't work well.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to notice that when you start doing things one at a time, you're like, wow, I actually get this thing done better, more effectively. I have better emotions now because I'm not having all this stuff in the background. So that's why if you just focus on one thing at a time, what's in front of you, you can actually get through it. It's less overwhelming, allows you to recover, allows you to get better productivity, be more efficient and effective.
Mm-hmm. All right, man. If somebody's, I'm going to add number 3.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to ask for help.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that.
Uh, that's a hard thing for guys to do, though, because then we have to admit to ourselves, hey, I can't take on the whole world by myself. I'm not Atlas being able to hold the whole world up on my
Mm.
shoulders. If a guy is at the point, though, where they're like, hey, maybe I could use a little bit of help, and they want to reach out to you and see if you can help them, what's the best way to do that?
Reach out to me you can reach out to me via social media, so Instagram and LinkedIn, most active on LinkedIn, or email me at team@purdeepsangha.com.
All right, man. A lot of valuable stuff. Again, a crazy situation that you went through. I'm glad that you made it out. I'm glad that you're back doing the shows, and I'm sure many more opportunities like that are going to be unfolding themselves for you. So I wouldn't be too stressed about it. But thanks for putting the podcast together. And if people want to check out more episodes, where's the best place to go?
Check out youtubeformen.com or completemanpodcast.com.
All right. And until next time, we will catch you later.
Till next time, man.